What's up, Jen? How are you? Good morning.
I'm good. What's going on?
Not much. I'm just here in sunny South Florida, and I saw your post today, and I had to be like, hey, Jen, let's talk about how the heck you had so many ordering sessions and so much revenue.
It was a good month. It's a real good month.
So can you, I don't have the post right now. So like, tell us just a recap. Somebody's like, what the heck? Get to the point. What were the results for April 30th or up to April 30th from April 1st?
Well, I had my biggest month ever for the studio. My studio grossed $92,900 in April. It might be a little more if my team books some sessions for me today, but all of my ordering appointments are done. So yeah, I killed it last month. It was my largest month ever.
Okay. So 92,000. I mean, that sounds like, by the way, that's like more than most businesses gross. So just in case anyone's not familiar, like what genre, what are you selling? Where is most of the revenue coming from? And like, what are people buying from you that makes that even possible?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm a full-time boudoir photographer. So I'm pulling up my metrics here. So it's a combination of, most of it is boudoir sales from ordering appointments. I do in-person sales over Zoom, but they're still considered in person. So last month, my boudoir sales from ordering appointments was $87,378. And then my retainer fee revenue was $5,561. So I'm not sure how many GD booked, but that's also some income coming in of clients that have decided that they want to shoot extra sets too. So it's not all clients booking. It might be like extra sets that people are adding on.
Okay. And then when I looked at this, so that's like a really detailed breakdown. I think I saw something about what the average sale was.
Yeah.
And then how many of your top packages you had.
Yeah. So Randy figured it out last night. My average sale for April was actually $5,400. My average sale for the year, if you're going January to now, year to date, is $4,900. But in April, I sold 4 of my top collections, which is $8,000, and they were all paid in full. So it was a really good month.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
I guess one of the benefits too is people don't have to pay sales tax in Delaware either, right?
There's no sales tax. And the great thing is, so I have clients that come from all over the country. Like I had a client this month from Arizona. I had a client from New York. I had a client from South Carolina, I think, one of those states down there. A lot of clients from PA and Jersey, Baltimore, Manhattan. They come from everywhere. So even if they live in a state where there's sales tax, because I'm here doing the sale, there's no tax on their order. So that's nice for them.
Yeah, it's really fortunate. So, 2020, most of the country was shut down. 2021, one of my really good friends and clients literally just told me Toronto is like still shut down. Like she can't run her business. Yeah. So I think for some people, they might be surprised, like, holy crap, like, how are you doing this? How do you have people shooting? Are you doing virtual shoots? Are you doing in-person shoots? Like, how are you doing this? 2021, not everyone is vaccinated yet. And some parts of the country are still shut down. So
so I'm vaccinated. That it's all, it's a personal choice, and it was a choice that I decided to make. And it's been good for my mental health. But I've been shooting full time since June 15th of 2020. And I actually counted yesterday because I was curious. Since June 15th of 2020, I've shot 138 women, which it kind of blew my mind too. But because I take Polaroids of every person I shoot. So I had all the Polaroids up and I was like, wow, like that is a significant amount of people in the middle of a pandemic. So here in Delaware, it's pretty safe. But still, I do a COVID screener. We, Clorox everything between clients. I take people's temperatures whenever they come in. They leave their shoes outside. So I'm still being very cautious. I still, of course, mask. I wear a KN95 when I'm shooting, sanitize my hands, wash them frequently. So trying to do the best we can with it.
And that number's surprising because I remember when we were doing kind of just some of the wrap up for like 2019, 2018, I remember like 130 was like almost what you shot the entire year in those years. It was pretty surprising. I think June was 10 months ago?
Yeah. Yeah. So what happened was I had all those clients from March 17th to June 15th that all needed to be put in the schedule. So I ended up shooting. I've been shooting almost 5 days a week, almost every week since we got back from COVID. There's been a few weeks, of course, where I've taken off, or maybe a random week where I've only had 3 shoots. But I mean, I've been shooting pretty consistently 5 a week.
And I know that you also got a new studio during this time. So it's been like a pretty busy year. So you got a new studio, you have associate photographers. Are they shooting or are you shooting everything right now?
So they're shooting, but I'm not yet. They're still in like the perfecting stage. So that revenue is only from me shooting. Once they ramp up and are able to start doing, I'm able to start selling their images, I'm anticipating that should probably almost double because I'm going to have 2 other photographers doing sessions. So yeah. And in fact, I'm doing model calls right now for them. So we just finished the first set of shoots where I'm going to have ordering appointments, and I'm almost done training my studio manager to do their ordering appointments. So really that will be like a whole other portion of the studio that's almost running independently without me, which I'm super excited about. It's almost going to be like passive income because she's handling all the orders. She'll be handling the scheduling. It's almost like she's running that part of the studio by herself.
Yeah, I cannot value how much relief and how much time you get back, like when you're not actually having to do it. So that's like definitely the next stage. Okay. So new studio, new people maybe about to start helping you get your time back and be passive. I know TikTok has been something that you've like really been putting into so we've talked about TikTok a lot, and people know that you're one of the most followed TikTok photographers. How have you been rolling over to Reels? Like, has it translated as well? Are you picking up traction? Have you picked up followers?
Yeah. I mean, I have about 25,000 followers on Instagram, which is pretty significant. I feel like, TikTok is almost 500,000, which is crazy. It's a lot of time. Like, I'm not going to lie. People think that it just happens quickly, but it's not. Like, it's something where you have to put the time in, and you really need to be posting 2 to 3 times a day on TikTok to keep the traction, to get traction, and then to keep the momentum going. Because what happens is if you stop posting, then you start to just lose followers. It just starts to keep dwindling down. And Reels is not as viral as TikTok. TikTok can sometimes be like super duper viral, where it's just massive, the following that you get. Instagram, though, I definitely book from Instagram. And when I have something go viral on TikTok, I'll book 10 sessions, 12 sessions, easy.
Wow. And they're going to your website. Are you getting DMs? I don't even know. Can you DM people on TikTok?
So you can't, unless I'm following them, which I don't really follow lots of people on TikTok. I just follow people that I really like their stuff. But what I do is I push them over to Instagram because I want them to follow me there, and anybody can DM you on Instagram. So then they usually reach out over Instagram, or they just book a call right with my team, or they'll reach out to me directly, which I've actually taken down my contact information from most platforms just because I was having like some things happen that were, just out a little bit. Like yesterday we were at the aquarium And someone messaged me on Instagram that night and was like, because I had posted some like a TikTok of Lincoln at the aquarium. And someone messaged me on Instagram that I didn't know and was like, I knew I saw you there. And I was like, it's so weird.
It's so funny.
Yeah. I'm still getting used to that, honestly.
Okay. So you're having much higher sales, TikTok reels, you're still getting a lot of clients from there.
Yeah.
For the IPS, I mean, I always, because, you know, I know when we met, you were around 4,000 or just over 4,000. Mm-hmm. And I always, you know, I feel like people are at different stages. So there might be somebody watching this thinking like, okay, I'm at $1,000 for in-person sales or digitals. I'm at 1,800. I need to do this one thing to double, to triple. And from what I find is most of the time, I don't really need to do anything other than change the price list, remove some of the digitals from like some of their bottom packages and just be confident.
Yeah.
So like for you, you know, going from like 4,000 to 5,400, was it more of that, or was it like some super secret thing? Did you get some super secret album that like now people buy, or like?
Well, I have changed some things in my IPS process, which I'm actually going to be updating the module in the mastermind by the end of next month. I'm just going to re-record the whole thing because there are some things that I've definitely changed about my IPS process. But absolutely, I also changed my investment menu, and we've been talking in the master circle. It was kind of like hive mind, and some people have been talking about it in the exclusive group about adding a $12,000 collection. And I was on the cusp for a long time. And then I pulled the trigger on it and it's worked beautifully. I haven't sold it, but it makes what used to be my top collection look much more attainable to most people. So it's all about the psychology of the sale, right? Now, like the $5,000 collection is placed right in the middle. And then my $8,000 collection looks like a steal compared to the $12,000 collection. So the psychology has really worked, and I wasn't sure about it. I was really nervous to make the change, but I mean, it's been great. And I've definitely changed some things in my IPS process as well. So all of that working together has like really been very successful.
Yeah, I will say it's interesting that you say that about like the packages, because and I'm going to ask, before you changed it, did you have many sales that were over 10,000?
No, I'd never had it over 10. My highest sale was 9,600.
Okay. So the reason I say that is because there's two camps, right? There's like the packages camp, and then there's the like a la carte camp. And I think there's drawbacks to both. And I normally tell people like a la carte for most people is just packages, but they're like memorized in your head. So you still have packages, you have your go-tos, and you're making suggestions. They're not just written down, and you're just kind of wheeling and dealing and being faster. And that's great for someone who's like super quick and like just has that, you know, I call it like the street vendor vibe, you know, it doesn't have to be that, that stigma, but just kind of like the enthusiasm, the quickness. And then if for somebody who's like, okay, I need like a process, I need this, and whatever, people can go back and forth and choose. I'm just saying those are some of the benefits.
Right.
But one of the biggest benefits I find from a la carte is that a la carte, because there's the openness, there's usually no limit to what the sale can be. Because even if they're like, okay, you know, I have this $9,000 thing, if they get creative or somebody says, hey, I have this, you know, super 400 square foot closet, they can instantly go and just start designing things and like go up to a $16,000 a la carte. So I find that, again, I do think that the packages for most people, especially like in mass, is probably the simplest and probably the most effective. But I do think that one thing, and I'm not saying that just because you do packages, you can't do the a la carte element, because you definitely can. So do you find that's the case? And that's why I asked, like, before you had your top package, were you selling over that? Or do you feel like you just kind of go to those sticking points and it kind of is like let's just say like a false ceiling or a glass ceiling, right, to have those packages?
So it makes sense what you're saying. But the way I've always thought about it is I would rather have, say I shoot like about 16 clients a month. So I would rather have 10 $5,000 sales than like one monster $10,000 sale. You know what I mean? But having the collections for more people makes sense because, you know, even when you think on a very low scale, like you go to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, almost every single person buys a number, right? Like a number 2,
Yeah.
a number 4. It's something that as a culture, we are used to buying like packages. So I think it makes sense to most consumers to see packages. It makes sense in their mind. And I know for me as a consumer, when I see an a la carte menu, it can be really overwhelming. So I think having those packages or collections already made helps the consumer make a decision because a confused mind says no. So we want to do as much guidance towards the collection we want as possible, you know?
Yeah. And I'm not saying, I think both, you know, both sides can argue their case. And I firmly, my belief is like, whatever someone believes, that's the truth. So if someone says, if somebody tells me, hey, people don't buy albums or they don't buy wall art, you believe that? That actually becomes the truth for them. It's like, you're right. It does. You believe that? It's true. So it's the same thing when like choosing your sales stylist. I'm like, yeah, you believe that? It's definitely true. And obviously it's worked out because there's some crazy sales numbers that, you know, I used to think 3,000 was like a high number, right? And it's like the more different people you hang out with, and I see this in like the mastermind and the master circles, like the different crowds, like they have like different expectations. It's like, and then your expectations mold with them. So it's kind of cool just having like a community where like people are really, you know, taking IPS seriously and just sharpening their blades and getting much better at it.
Yeah. Where like $3,000 is a low sale. I have to remind myself if I sell my $3,000 collection, I have to remind myself like that is still a good sale. Like I might be used to selling $5,000 or $6,000, but if I sell $3,000, that is still a really good sale. So that's what I used to make in 2 weeks of work as a speech pathologist, you know? So
yeah, it was so weird. I did something yesterday and I got like a wad of cash and like I looked at it and I was like half annoyed. I'm weird. I'm like the opposite. I don't like cash. And I looked at it, I was like, man, like, what do I even do with this? Like, do I go to the bank? Like, is it worth driving over there? Do I just spend this over the next year or something? And yeah, I will say, like, as I've had this conversation with a friend, like in private, I was like, it's strange because when I was making a salary, like in the Marines, I would, no kidding, when I was making like $1,000 purchase, a $2,000 purchase, I was like imagining like, okay, how long is this going to take to pay back? How many hours? I had written down how much I made per hour. I kind of calculated 24 hours a day, you know, or on a deployment. And I'd buy something for 3,000 and it was like the biggest deal. And then now I was at Bed Bath and Beyond and I had this like really nice quilt or something. And this lady like came up to me and she was like, oh my God, that's so nice. It was like quilted. It had this nice pattern. And she was like, oh, how much is that? And I was like, I'm really sorry. I don't know. She's like, you didn't check the price before you grabbed it. I was like, no, I will say there's a certain thing where it's like, once you start getting like it starts getting fuzzier, you start losing reality. But yesterday, maybe cash brings me back to life because I think swiping a card, you don't really feel like, hey, when you spend hundreds, but like when you have to hand over like Benjamins and, you know, some Jeffersons, like all of a sudden you're like, damn, like I'm actually spending money, not like a number on a screen.
Yeah, no. And it's true. Your mindset changes as your earning power increases. So Brandy and I used to really, really struggle. Like we, you know, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, like I'm talking like we had a $50 couch that we got from a yard sale. And when Randy was finishing his clinicals and we were one income and I was a traveler making good money, but still we were one income and putting him through grad school. We were eating ramen noodles at a folding table with our $50 couch. And for my birthday, he got me tickets to Wicked at a theater in Philadelphia. And the tickets were $130. And we sat down and we were budgeting and we were looking and seeing where we could scrape that money from, like, because he knew it was on my bucket list to see that show. And it was something we really struggled with at that point, like if we should do it, if we had the money to do it. And now looking back, I'm like, God, I spend that like on Starbucks, like, or like on DoorDash, and it doesn't even like faze me.
Yeah, those are a trap. Uber Eats and Postmates, I like look at the charges. I'm like, damn it.
I know I spend way too much on that, but it's so because I'm so busy. Like sometimes I don't have time to like make a lunch or get a lunch ready. So sometimes it's just fast and I get hungry.
I will say there's definitely, I don't know, like I have a nostalgia or like a positive feeling when I think about like, I can go all the way back to buying Magic cards and Pokemon cards with like $10 I earned. Or, my first paycheck in like the Marines, I bought like a $1,500 car and thinking I was like the coolest. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And like, I actually think like all those times probably made it so that like now all these things are more enjoyable. Yeah. And we actually
absolutely. We appreciate it so much. When I have a month like this, Randy and I sat down last night and we were like, do you remember when like this was more than what you made in a year? Like it's hard to wrap your mind around sometimes, but also this is the result of really hard work. And I was talking to Jackson this morning, my son, and I was talking to him about art and how like art elicits an emotion. And I feel like I'm a master at what I do. And I feel like now like the pay is equivalent, but I should say though, that there are so many other artists and photographers that do not make this revenue and are so equally masters at their craft. It's just, the business acumen, when you match the business acumen with the master of what you're doing, then you get this beautiful, beautiful thing of being successful, like financially as well,
I was reading this book. It's called like the road to something. And he draws a parallel. His example is usually like a plumber. And he's like, do you want to be the best plumber, the most artistic plumber, the one that solves all the problems? And like, you get the award for literally being the most creative and best problem solver. He's like, because that's a very different award from building a business, from having revenue, from having employees, a manager, and making millions of dollars. He's like, those two things are very distinct. And he's like, if you make decisions as I don't know why he came up with plumber, but if you make the decisions as the tradesman, as the person that has the passion, if you do it as the creative plumber, he's like, that's usually not going to lead to very good business ideas. So it's just like a whole book on exercise on like asking hard questions of yourself, asking deeper questions. And every time you do something or you pause something, just being aware that like your choices and your attitude towards them really impact, what the result is. Are you going to be the most skilled and talented with no one to show and no clients? Or you can still be that and actually, service people, exchange goods, trade money,
I mean, I agree. And I used to say all the time, like, I'm not the best photographer out there. There's so many people that are better than me. But as I've continued to evolve, even since we started the mastermind, I realized that like there are other people with different styles that are very good. And I respect that and I admire it. But like at my style, what I'm good at, I'm really good at. And I think that's the other part to this is you have to find what you're good at and lean into it. I think so many times people try to emulate other people's styles and it might not feel like authentic or genuine to them. And I think that translates to potential consumers as well. So I think it's really important that you like find yourself too.
I get what you're saying. I do find that like emulating people, as long as you're doing it and doing it often, you very quickly figure things out, where like usually people have the opposite problem where like they see so many people they want to emulate and then they're like frozen and don't go down any path because they're like, well, she said use a ring light, she said use natural light, use strobe, so I need to like think more. And it's like, whatever your instinct is, like, just go do it, go down the path.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people that have like been like, I love Jenn's style, light and airy. They join the mastermind, they do everything you do. And then, you know, they close a little bit of the blinds, their flash didn't go off and like, no, I like this better, but I got the principles. And then they went and like, then figured out their own path.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I think that the more you do it, the more experience you get, like the more it leads you to your most authentic self working, right? Like I think without shooting, without doing it a lot, it's hard to find that most authentic self. I think you have to have the experience. And I think having a strong like role model, a strong mentor is part of that experience, you know?
Yeah, I was listening to, I think it was like the CEO of Netflix, and he was being interviewed by Tom Bellew, and he was like, "Hey, like you're a billionaire. How do you pick winners and losers and people to invest in?" Because he's like an angel investor, and he's like, "Literally, the only thing I care about is did they go do it?" And he's like, "Explain that." He's like, "People will come and say, I have the next Uber, the next Airbnb, the next this and that," and he'll be like, I don't care. I don't care what your idea is. I want to see that you went and tried it and that it worked. And he's like, at any level. So he's like, if you thought you wanted to resell clothes, like, you know, gift the runway or whatever that's called, or rebag or
Rent the runway,
ooh la la, like whatever. Yeah. He's like, I want you to set up a store in your dorm. And if you sell out all of your used clothes, I think that's a good business idea, because I wouldn't have guessed people wanted used clothes. So I thought about that and I was like, yeah, like I'm in these groups, I'm on these calls, and a lot of times people are like, oh, do you think it would work to market to these people? It's like, I have no idea. Try it. Like I can tell you what's worked in the past, and that's like a baseline, but even all the things that we figured out in the past, number one, they're not going to be authentic to everyone. And number two, we figured those out by just going and trying, right? You cannot brainstorm that. And the faster you go and figure out it doesn't work, like the faster you can move on to the next thing.
Absolutely. So I think that being a self-starter is like one of the keys to being a successful entrepreneur. Like that is absolutely the key. You have to have that hunger. And working with so many business owners, I found that the really successful ones have a level of obsession. Like you have to have that drive.
But like when we say obsession, I think it manifests itself in someone being obsessed enough to actually try those things. Because I hear people say, well, this person has 10 years experience, 9 years experience, 8 years, but like experience isn't all built the same, right? Like if your experience has been being timid, being tedious, not trying any marketing things, not trying to sell, not booking anyone, and that's what you do for 8 years, someone coming in, like the person I think of is like Quinn Teachma, like Quinn coming in and like starting photography from being a model and picking up a camera and just being like, all right, I'm going to just try 400 things in like 4 months. Like, I feel like she has more experience than the photographer that was doing it for 10 years, but was almost not enacting anything. Right. Like,
I mean I think the obsession manifests itself into action. Like when I think of something that I want to do, I can't stop thinking about it until I do it and do it well. And, like when I made that $12,000 investment menu, we had talked about it on our last master circle call. And I think that night I probably stayed up until like 1 or 2 making it, because it's just, it just stays in my brain until I get it out. But it's been really, really successful. So it was a good move.
So before we get off, I guess the golden question is, and maybe this is more personal, like because I know we talked about it, but like, what do you do? So like, obviously there's expenses, there's taxes and stuff. Like you guys follow the profit first system too, right?
Yeah, we do.
That system is amazing, but you had this amazing month. Like what now? Like, are you guys like investing? Are you guys like gonna buy another studio? Like,
well, I'm going to buy myself a new right hand ring as like a bonus for killing it this month. Like there's this really pretty one at Tiffany's that I want. And I haven't gotten a new one since, like 10 years ago. So I've been wanting it for a while. So I'm going to do that. But that's not something that we do every month. And Mother's Day is like coming up. So it's kind of like a combined thing. But we do invest. Randy just pulled out our crypto. He's really, really good at managing the money. So that would be more of a Randy question, honestly. But he's good.
Did Randy buy Dogecoin?
No, but we should have. We would have made a fucking killing. But he did really well with Ethereum. But we would have made a lot of money on Dogecoins if you put it in the beginning and then pulled it out. You know, there's a lot of money to be made. There was. Anyway.
I find it just so ironic that it was like created as a joke to show how ridiculous people would invest into dumb things. And for people that don't know, it's like literally a meme. Yeah. So it's like a dog.
It's like Randy explained it to me like you could get a Lamborghini and get like actual crypto, or you could get a Matchbox car and that's a Dogecoin, and people are paying what they would pay for a Lamborghini for a Matchbox car. And so it'll all come back down again, and then the next thing will happen. And the key is to figure out what is the next thing that's going to get big before it gets big. So
yeah. Well, I'm looking at these headlines and I'm going to go log off and go invest in some Dogecoin. No, I'm just kidding.
No, don't do that. I don't know. I think that might be kind of on its way back down again. Do you think?
I have no idea. I just look at this. I'm just like, who is sitting there with hundreds of thousands of dollars investing in memes? Like, this is insane. The market cap, in case people don't know what the market cap is like, if all the shares or all the coins were added up with its value, Dogecoin is worth more than Ford, like Ford Motor Company. Like that company has been going
a lot of money in it.
Yeah, it's insane. And it's a meme.
There's a lot of money in that. I saw a TikTok the other day. This guy, I guess it's public knowledge what CEOs and CFOs of really large companies invest in. And so he just goes and sees what these CFOs and CEOs are investing in, and then he invests in the same things, and he has made hundreds of thousands of dollars doing that. He just does whatever they're doing because they probably know what's going to happen for the most part.
Yeah, seems pretty. So. I wish there was someone in boudoir photography that knew how to do things to grow businesses and could just share that with me.
Well.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for being on. I'm going to, regardless of where you guys are listening to this, I'm going to put a link on where you can learn more about working with Jenn Bruno Smith and finding out all these crazy, amazing things. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, Jenn.
Bye, guys. Thanks. See ya.